Don in London, hello. It's April the 11th, 2009. A little bit later this morning doing my videos. My videos all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour, or addiction to both substance and behaviour. My substance, alcohol, my behaviour at the extremes, trying to be perfect often and never so, never ever perfect. But I had a good go at trying because I thought that's what I needed to do. So striving beyond the pale often. And these days, what helps me get some balance back into my life is A, being in recovery, and B, fellowship, and C, working at it just simply for one day. And whoever would have said to me that you can solve all your problems in one day, I would have laughed at them and thought, well, maybe they're being a bit too optimistic. But you know what? Being a perfectionist, I thought you probably could. So these days I realise that it is only progress that we make, and we're never perfect, and that I suppose there is no end to learning, and that's the real gift of sobriety for me, and being out of the addiction and into recovery. So my life, how it used to be, isolated, alone, excluded, these days more included, more a part of, and included. So what else have I learned? It's very difficult to maintain sobriety without some help. So the gift for me, I have professional help and fellowship help to get me into a program of one day at a time, being included, part of, and not going back into my old addictions and old behaviour. So the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, has been very, very much a part of my life in the last few years, and it helps me maintain sober life. Some people go for a while and find it doesn't work. Some people go for a while and find it does work, and they don't need it anymore. And some people like to hang around because we just meet great people, and we give something back sometimes by just sharing a message of experience, strength and hope. And also people who don't go to AA but still have recovery, they also share their experience, strength and hope. So there are many ways to make life work, and for as many ways there are to make life work, there are probably that many human beings in recovery. So we just do our best on a daily basis. But I like the fellowship of AA. It helps me recalibrate my life daily. And when I go to meetings, a preamble is shared which explains what the fellowship is all about. I never speak for the fellowship. The fellowship just exists with people in recovery. It's not something special. Actually it is something extra special, but the only reason why is it's full of people, just ordinary human beings being in recovery one day only. And some have done it for decades and some have done it for a day. We're both as important wherever we are in the fellowship and our path of recovery, one day long. That's all it is. Anyway, the preamble shared at every meeting goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I went to a meeting last night which there were great reminders about what it is. The meeting is called Courage to Change, just change, and it's a daily basis thing. But one of the things that we all learn very early on is that the fellowship provides sanctuary, a sanctuary where we can find the truth of now. And once we access the truth, which is, if we're sober, life can work, rather than being, I suppose, in the malady, in the problem, where we can't make life work at all. It is so much easier to get along. So that meeting was really critical, and somebody shared, and then a newcomer shared, all about what it's like to go back into the malady and the problem, and why did they do that. And it had a lot to do with low self-esteem, not being able to cope, and also, I suppose, being undermined by external forces. And what those people kept on saying most emphatically was, lean on the fellowship hard, then sobriety is there, and then the rest of life can work. So sobriety comes first, and then the rest of life can happen. It means that we have our full range of emotions as they are, rather than wondering at the extremes of feeling, whether we're included or excluded. And what helps me along the way also is the literature, and in the daily reflections each month it covers one of the 12 action steps of the programme. So it's like a daily reminder in April all about step 4, which is about doing a fearless moral inventory, our assets and liabilities, focusing on the liabilities mostly around how to get sober and stop being in the problem. And the other book I use quite often on this YouTube video, or wherever I put them up, is As Bill Sees It, again a daily reading or more if you need it. And one of the things in fellowship we learn is you can restart your day at any time and realise you've got yourself back into the problem, not drinking necessarily, but behaviour associated with it, which is isolation and exclusion, anger and resentment. And the number one offenders for going back to the problem is resentment, followed by anger or rage. And these days, if we keep on responding to life rather than reacting to it, we have a better chance. So when I ask myself in the morning, how am I feeling? Why? What can I do? It's asserting I have feelings. Why? Well, today I'm okay, but if I were in pain, the best thing I can do is to get into company which understands what my problem is. So moving from exclusion and isolation into inclusion and being a part of is so much more of a message, I guess, of recovery. So, daily reflections for today, April 11th. A word to drop: blame. To see how erratic emotions victimised us often took a long time. We could perceive them quickly in others, but only slowly in ourselves. First of all, we had to admit that we had many of these defects, even though such disclosures were painful and humiliating. Where other people are concerned, we had to drop the word blame from our speech and our thoughts. When I did my 4th step, following the Big Book guidelines, I noticed that my grudge list was filled with my prejudices and my blaming others for my not being able to succeed and live up to my potential. I also discovered I felt different because I was black. As I continued to work on the step, I learned that I always had drunk to rid myself of those feelings. It was only when I sobered up and worked on my inventory that I could no longer blame anyone. And I could blame all sorts of things in my past. I think one of the hardest prejudices that anybody must face is that there is prejudice against just about anybody and anything from some people in some quarters, and the only way to actually overcome it is to have a sense of self-esteem, confidence built on the foundation of being okay. It's okay to be me, regardless of race, colour or creed. And to stop blaming, because if we're forever blaming others, we're stuck in the problem and not into the solution. That sounds very trite, and I'm trying not to be trite, because believe you me, we all have stigmas about various things to do with ourselves, our appearance and our outlook, our attitudes and our behaviour. And why are we not understood? And why don't they understand me? And the absolute truth is, if I understood myself better and what I can do, moving into a solution, then I have a better opportunity. It will never be fair, in the sense that some people get the breaks and some people don't. Some of us just have to keep working a day at a time and be content with where we are, maybe, as best we can. And in As Bill Sees It, this one, page 75, it's all about losing financial fears, but I also realise I'm running out of time. I feel okay this morning. That's the most important thing for me. Why? Because I have a plan. I plan to go to a meeting and make tea, and to be a part of something, and to share experience, strength and hope. And I'm going to do that at lunchtime. And then I've got a lunch date, which is great. And then the rest of the day, we'll see how we go. It's all about empathy. How are we feeling? Why? And what can we do? So when I say the serenity prayer to myself each morning as part of my meditation, God, or good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Gives me a realistic approach just for one day at a time.